For session 9's lecture notes, we are going to be working in chapter 14 entitled Stress and Crisis in Relationships. So to get started, you are going to click on the session 9 lecture notes link and make a copy of the template. You're going to start in the front of chapter 14. You can do this one of two ways. You can read through chapter 14 and then go back to finish your notes. You can skim through chapter 14, try to figure out the concepts and then go back, or you can read along as you complete the notes. So we're going to spend a little bit of time in chapter 14 this week talking about what happens when stress and crisis enters into relationships, and specifically looking at what happens when it enters the relationships that create the family unit. So think about what happens when a couple that are the parents of a family unit involving children experience stress in their relationships. How does that affect the family unit as a whole? How does it affect the work in their lives that provides monetary support for the family unit? How does it affect the children emotionally or physically? And then think about items such as large major crisis events. You'll see in the front of chapter 14, the picture that is used is a family that obviously has been impacted by a flood. A crisis certainly puts a lot of stress and anxious thoughts and just kind of uproots the family unit's stability, and it really impacts all members of the family unit. So when you get started with your notes, you are going to define some of the key terms in chapter 14, and those are stress, crisis, resilience, family resilience, because there is a difference there in just resilience and family resilience. You're also going to read about and address the family stress coping model. You've also done that previously in your journal. Then you have a reflection question that asks you to identify a situation that would place stress on a family unit or be a symbol of crisis for a family unit. And then think about how that negatively affects the family unit. So you need to give more than the example I just gave you previously about the flood. You may want to think in your own family unit or a family unit that you are close to. What has happened that placed stress in that family unit's life in the form of a crisis? Moving on from that reflection, we are going to move into the stress management strategies section of the chapter. So learning how to manage stress for yourself or for yourself as a college student is a huge task. It comes along with maturity, and because maturity is not attached to age when we talk about behavior in a family unit, stress management really is the key to making sure that you are maturely managing the family unit that you are in charge of. And each adult within a family unit is going to have a different way of managing their stress, and you're going to see some of those identified here in the text. So you're not only going to list the 10 that are in the text, but you're going to read about each and summarize each after you list them. Think about when you are reading over those stress management strategies, which ones you tend to resort to when there is stress in your life. And even if you are not the parent or the responsible adult in your particular family unit, think about your role in managing the stress while you are a member of that family unit. What do you try to do? I know that for me, exercise is one of the things that I know I need to go out and do. I need to go out and take a walk if I'm having a stressful evening at home with the children or something like that. I also, I have a very close relationship with my sister. And so when things get crazy and stressful for me, I tend to pick up the phone and call her. Another thing that my husband and I both use very heavily is humor. My husband and I are both very sarcastic. And so when things get stressful in our lives, we tend to make jokes, and it just kind of lightens the mood. Some people are very offended by humor in a stressful situation. Thank goodness my husband and I are similar in that aspect, because we certainly could make the other one very upset if we decided to use humor in a stressful situation and the other one didn't appreciate it. So think about those stress management strategies. Think about which ones work best in your family unit. And if you're cognizant of those, the next time something happens that affects your family unit, you may be able to kind of intervene and almost manage some of the reactions within the family unit based upon those stress management strategies. So we're not only learning about this for the sake of learning about this for the course, but you should be able to take some of this information and truly apply it into your own lives. Moving into the family crisis examples that you'll see begin on page 300, there are numerous ones here that truly could be catastrophic for a family unit. Some of these impact the family unit in ways that challenge the family, but is something that the family can overcome, work together to beat. And some of these truly can end and bust up a family unit. And so I want you really to kind of delve into those particular ones and think about those crisis examples. Have they ever occurred in your family? And if they have, what has happened? You can think about your family unit, specifically the people that live in your home, or you can think a little bit further out in your extended family. Is there an example of someone maybe in your extended family that has experienced some sort of physical illness that has caused a crisis? And that is not to say that someone that got sick meant to cause a crisis, but think about what would happen if you had a family member that became very ill and sick with cancer. Think about the other family members that they need to depend on in order to provide meals for them, take them to the doctor, help them with cleaning the house. Think about how much more stress would be added into a family unit if the person that was sick with the cancer was the mother or the father in the family unit. So think about the stress that it would put on the child knowing that the parent was very sick and going through this. So I want you to think about when you're reflecting on the reflection question, what happened in that family unit? Did they survive it? Did the family unit at the end of the crisis continue on? Were they stronger? Or was it something that affected them to the point that they fell apart? So your reflection will go there. And then when we are reflecting on the chapter as a whole, you have 3 reflection questions there. You are certainly welcome to continue reading on past the crisis information. It does address therapy for marriage and for families and the different types of therapies. And if that is interesting to you, you're certainly welcome to complete those last 3 pages of reading. If not, you can jump right to that summary and complete those questions. Please remember that your lecture notes should be complete. They should be proof that you really did spend time in the chapter examining the content and reflecting. If you have any questions while you're completing them, make sure you reach out.